Okay, hey everybody, welcome to another episode of On the Wrist from Off the Cuff. Today we have another really cool update for you from the brand Cincinnati Watch Company. Now, of course, if you're a fan of the channel, then this isn't your first time hearing about Cincinnati Watch Company. But if it is, let me tell you guys a little bit about them. Essentially, their brand is US based, and they're really known for offering quality crafted watches inspired by Cincinnati, the city that they love. Now, a really cool, interesting little tidbit about their background is that actually a portion of each sale of every watch benefits a valuable local Cincinnati institution. So based on the particular model and the release, there'll be different, basically different institutions that will receive some of the proceeds, which I think is really, really cool. Now, of course, just by looking at this watch, you can tell that it is a pilot's watch. Now, some key common characteristics and design language. When you're looking for a pilot's watch, you're really just going to want that balance of legibility and functionality. Also, if you're a fan of the channel, then you know that this is their P-40M model, but this is the new blue dial variant. So this is actually a pre-production prototype. Man, this thing is gorgeous. Obviously, because they have the black model, the original one, already in production, that was really easy. Really, it was the choice of which strap to pair with it, as well as the new handset, and of course the dial itself. So I'm really looking forward to sharing this one with you guys, and really hoping that the lighting here can just give you guys an idea of just how gorgeous this thing is in person, in the metal. Absolutely fantastic. So with all of that said, let's go ahead and take a closer look. Okay, now the last time that I reviewed the original model, I actually reviewed it on the bracelet, so I figured I'd change things up and review it on the optional strap that actually comes with the watch. Now, I will put it on the bracelet for the low light transition, so you guys can again get a nice look at the finishing on this piece. But when it comes to on the wrist and in hand here, we're just going to stick to on the strap. So as you guys can see, this blue is extremely striking. I love how dynamic it is in the way that the colors shift because of the actual finishing on the dial. And this is something that was a little bit harder to tell on the black dial model. But basically there are some really, really cool little textures. Essentially the inner circle here that's countersunk is going to have a very deep, dark, midnight blue sunburst effect, while the outer portion is going to have a nice brushed vertical effect, which means that they're just going to play with the light differently. Although they are the same color, the nice thing is that the way the light is going to reflect off of that dial is going to shift quite dynamically. As you guys can see, there's a lot going on with the color play here. Absolutely gorgeous. And I love the strap that they chose. It's a lot like the crown and buckle chevron style straps that are becoming very popular right now, essentially where you have the adjustable length here, single pass, nice and thin, but very tight premium weave style. So really nice. So this should be the strap essentially that is going to come with this one. Of course, this is a pre-production model, so things may change slightly, but it's my understanding that this is pretty bang on, and I just love the way the color plays here, especially because you can see that with this type of strap, you get that dark blue with the black, and it almost gives it a sunburst type effect because of the way that the light is going to hit, and of course the way that your eyes are actually going to mesh those two colors together, the black and the blue, to kind of create a new color. So I think it renders really, really cool. Obviously, hopefully it's showing on camera, but I think it looks absolutely great in person. Now, a little bit about just the P-40M in general. Of course, it does have that classic onion crown. It's a pilot's watch with a modern twist. Now, this actually is in honor of an Oshkosh Grand Champion P-40M restoration. It was created in partnership with the Tri-State Warbird Museum, and a portion of every sale benefits the restoration and preservation of World War II aircraft. So very, very cool, and that is just in general for the P-40M before we even got to this excellent blue dial variant, which I'm so excited about. Now, What's included in this is you're going to actually get a really cool little die-cast P-40 Flying Tigers model airplane, and you're going to get this single pass luxury nylon strap. Now, as far as the dimensions go, you're going to have this really great 40.5 millimeter diameter with only a 9.29 millimeter thickness. You're going to have it's actually going to be 10.29 if you count the crystal, and then it only has a 47.5 millimeter lug to lug. Everything is brushed with some beautiful polished highlights there. You can see a really interesting take on the way that they did the polished highlight here. It's actually it's not a chamfer, it's actually a high polished section that is part of the cast there, and I think that looks absolutely gorgeous. Plays really, really well with this highly polished bezel there. I think it looks really great. Now, of course, that beautiful onion crown, very, very classic. We have the drilled lugs also. As far as the movement goes, if you guys want a super close look, actually, I can just do this real quick. As you can see, really nice. It's actually partially, it has a nice little cutout essentially. Basically the whole case back itself is actually inspired by the altitude indicator, basically the artificial horizon of the P-40M. So I think that's a really nice little touch, adds a ton of visual interest and also to the story. So I think that's just really, really keen. And of course you do have the etching there showing particular details and stats, but the movement inside is actually the Sellita SW215-1, which is a manual winding hacking movement. The nice thing is it actually still retains that 4 Hz sweep and has a 42 hour power reserve. Now, this multi-layered dial is this really beautiful deep blue. You can see those applied indices look absolutely great. The lume on here is going to be Superluminova BGW9, so of course it's going to go glow blue. Absolutely great. And then you do have that date at 6 o'clock, which is very nice and symmetrical and keeps everything just absolutely at a classic level. The water resistance on here is only 5 atmospheres or 50 meters, but you know, this isn't something you're going to want to take into the water anyway. It's going to be fine for a couple of splashes, some rain and whatnot, but this isn't something you're going to want to obviously go swimming with or submerge. But you know what, that's not really what pilot's watches are for, so I'm not too worried about that. Now, as far as the bracelet goes, everything is solid, guys, and it doesn't have the as you can see here, we have the solid end links. Doesn't have any spring bars holding it together, but you will see this mounted. But as you can see, everything's solid. Really beautifully done here, guys. It is 20 millimeter lug width, and then this does taper down. It has this beautiful signed mill clasp. You got the twin trigger deployment there. Everything's milled on the inside. Really beautifully done. Nice. I'd say the thickness is just about right for this as far as proportions go. Of course, it's a thin watch, so you're not going to want a super thick bracelet. It is secured by just directional push pins, but you know what, I think with the slim svelte profile and of course at the price point, you should be definitely fine. The previous model actually sold for $519, but you're gonna have to check the site for updates, promotions, and whatever deals are going on. So I mean, they could go up a little bit for the blue dial variant, or they might even go down, you know, in a little sale to kind of get some more interest and maybe hopefully move some units before the holidays. So yeah, I mean, this thing is absolutely gorgeous. I'm really looking forward to getting this on the wrist for you guys. So let's go ahead and get it mounted. Okay, now as you can see on my 7 1/4 inch wrist, this thing wears absolutely beautifully. I can put a little bit more arm into the frame there just to give you an idea of scale. Bring it up close, of course, there's gonna be some lens distortion that's gonna make it read a bit larger than it truly is, but that's just the nature of kind of wrist shots. But as you can see, that blue is so dynamic. Look how how bright it kind of lights up as it's closer here with getting a little bit more light, but then the way that the colors shift. Oh man, I just love that. This has got to be one of my favorite blue dialed pilots, period. And that is, that's saying a lot because there's a lot of really cool pilots watches. Of course, I'm a bit of a blue dial connoisseur if you're a friend of the channel or a follower on Instagram. But as you can see, super thin, wraps around the wrist beautifully. Of course, you do have those great drilled lugs, which are really going to help as far as strap changes. Man, this thing wears beautifully. You have this great adjustable strap, essentially, so you can actually shrink it down, pull it out. But of course, the balance is as you shorten this, it's going to pull that keeper further out. And then, of course, you're going to be having less tongue as well. So it's one of those things. It's a real fine balance. Definitely worked out on my wrist this time. Really, really happy with the way this looks. I love the way that the color on the strap just really tie in beautifully to this dial, which is absolutely killer. Let's actually even get a couple of close-up shots. You guys can see those indices look absolutely gorgeous, and then even the numerals there have a 3D application that just really, really have legs, guys. These things look gorgeous. Okay, let's go ahead and move into some loom shots and some low light transition. Okay, let's go ahead and hit the lights. As you can see, that BGW9 loom is glowing just about perfectly there. Blue tone to it, very cool, very desirable. Obviously, looks nice, crisp and white in daylight situations. And then when you get into the low light, that beautiful blue shows up. So what I like to do in these low light transitions essentially is kind of give you guys an idea of, one, how these colors on the dial and whatnot are going to render in less than optimal lighting. And also give you guys a chance to really take a look at the finishing. You can see the brushing on the bracelet, how uniform it is. Really, really nice. I mean, obviously this isn't meant to be, ooh, look at the light on that. This isn't meant to be some type of luxury timepiece, guys, all right? This thing is a beautifully done tool watch that really not only has the chops, but the looks. My gosh, the looks this thing has. I want you guys to pay special attention to that dial. Do you see the way that that outer ring just catches the light differently? So that multi-layer really pays off. So versus where you're going to see normally just some very predictable kind of pie-shaped spirals when you look at something that is going to be just a full-on sunburst pattern. Here with that brushing, you're going to get a beautiful, just the way the light is going to light that whole outer ring up. And then right here you see everything looks really dark in the center ring. And then you come up here and then you can see the blues actually playing off of each other there. You're going to have all these different tones at the same time. It almost can even leave you with a gradient look where you're going to have kind of a darker top portion or top sector with a lower sector there that is going to render as much a little brighter and bluer, while other spots it's just going to go back to black. Absolutely gorgeous, guys. So with that said, I mean, this thing is absolutely fantastic. You know what? I'm going to break from my normal tradition, and instead of closing you guys out on this close-up, I'm actually going to put this back on wrist and give you my final thoughts, because this bracelet's just calling to me and I can't resist its call, guys. So okay, guys, ooh, man, this thing feels great on wrist. Now, as awesome as that strap looked, this is something that just makes it infinitely wearable. You got the beautiful steel bracelet, everything wraps. You can see the proportions now. Look at the way the lugs and the size and the shape, the way that they just tie right in to those links, the nice curvature that's just reflecting that same shape and symmetry. This wasn't just some off-the-shelf mishmash of parts. There was definitely clear thought and expert care that went into designing this piece. Now on the wrist, of course, it wears and a very classic, sporty, sweet spot, but with more, of course, of a modern aesthetic with the applied indices and whatnot. Man, guys, Hamilton, eat your heart out. Look at this dial. This thing is killer. Of course, the model variations, there's also a black dial available, so definitely check the channel for that if you guys are interested in a black, more monotone version of this particular watch. Now, as far as comparable models go, I'd say this is kind of that Hamilton Khaki Pilot meets Stoa Flieger. It just has a certain touch of just class and timelessness about it. I'm loving that they actually, instead of having the polished hands previously, now they have the white painted hands. I think it plays really well and gives you much nicer contrast off of this dial, which is going to be shifting around different colors and whatnot. So it's nice to have some hands that actually are quite stark and flat in comparison that won't be shifting around. So it just gives you that ultimate level of legibility. Bottom line, this thing has the makings of a future classic. The only way this won't be a classic, guys, is if it's just, you know, at the end of the day, it's kind of a small, obscure brand. If a larger scale brand put this watch out, my gosh, this thing would be all the rage. I mean, it's what else more can you ask for on this piece besides maybe a little brand heritage? I'm really having trouble thinking. I mean, I guess it would be nice to have a little bit more water resistance and try to make this some type of every instance type of watch. But man, this thing, as far as in regards to being just a pure aviation pilot inspired watch, I don't think that there's anything else that it needs to do to get that point across. Everything is beautifully legible. The aesthetic screams what this particular piece is. You can tell what it is just by looking at it. And God, that blue dial is just absolutely fantastic. With that said, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked the video, please do hit like. And if you haven't already, please subscribe for more content just like this. Thanks, guys.